So welcome back. We are asked to find the derivative of the following functions. So we have the first function, though these are inverse function. We have the tan and we have the sine function. So the first thing you need to look at, you see that we have two functions inside this particular function, meaning they are composite function. So the first one is the trigonometry, the second is your quadratic. So start from the one inside your or, let me say the last part of your function, which is this quadratic. So you can say that u equals 3x squared minus 1, right? So you now say that your y now equals tan inverse of u. So when you have two functions inside a function, meaning composite function, you use chain rule. So first you find that derivative, you say du dx, okay? So this will be 6x because we are finding in respect to x. Now, let's also try the y du, okay? So tan inverse will give you 1 over 1 plus u squared. So that is the derivative of tan inverse. So the next thing you need to do is just multiply them, applying chain rule. Applying chain rule. So you multiply this by this. So you said dy dx will now be equals to 6x multiplied by 1 over 1 multiplied by 1 plus u power 2. So this will give us 6x over 1 power u squared. That's dy dx. dy dx. So the last part, dy, oh, or let me write it here. So dy over dx will now be equals to 6x power 1 over 1. That is our u is what? U is 3x plus 1 squared, okay? So you can expand this if you want, but however, you can still leave it this way. It's not an issue. So that is how to find the inverse, to find the derivative of an inverse function. So the second part, which is this. So for this, so how do we solve this? We have quadratic, we have radicand, and we also have trigonometry functions. So let's separate them. So I will represent my quadratic with v. So I will say x squared plus u plus 2x plus 5, right? So the next thing is my radicand. I will represent it with u. I will then say square root of v. Remember that v is our quadratic. So this, we can also write it as, we can also write square root of v to be v to the power of half. Now, let's talk about the trigonometry. So trigonometry, we say y equals sine inverse of u. Okay? So, and that is how we represent them. And we are doing this so that we can use chain rule, just like we did in the first question. So let's find the derivative of each. So the derivative of this, which will now be dv to the respect of x dx, will now be 2x plus 2. Okay? So let's also find this. We now said du, we are differentiating v. dv will now be equals to half multiplied by v power negative half. So if you don't know how to do this, please go and watch my video. I explained this extensively, how to find the derivative of all these. So let's talk about sine inverse. So sine inverse dy du will give you 1 over square root of 1 minus u squared. So 1 minus u squared. So what are we going to do? We are now going to apply the chain rule. So applying chain rule, let me use red. Applying chain rule. We now have, we multiply everything. The y, the x will now be equals to 2x plus 2 multiplied by half v negative 1 over 2, then multiply by 1 over square root of 1 minus 2i. Okay? 1 minus u squared, rather. So let's multiply this through. So this will be 2x plus 2 over, this is the same thing as 2 square root of v, then multiply by square root of 1 minus u squared, right? So that is what it simply means. So this can cancel this and this. So we now have x plus 1 over square root of v. So square root, what is v? V is our quadratic, x squared plus 2x plus 5, right? Then for this, we have multiply by square root of 1 minus u is what? U is square root of v. So we now have square root of v is our quadratic, x squared plus 2x plus 5. All right? Then remember, u is squared, so we square it. Okay? So I think I'm just going to write the answer here. I'm going to write the final answer here, if it can contain it. So dy over dx, dy over dx. So now let's simplify this. Let me draw this to the end. So let's simplify this. So we have x plus 1 over this. We have square root of x squared plus 2x plus 5. All right. Then we have square here. This square here, we cancel out this square root. We now have multiply by square root of, this is the square root, then 1 minus x squared plus 2x plus 5. So that is the derivative of this particular function. Okay.